So I'm recording this the same night as the Grammys Tribute, and I have made lots of notes that I want to share with you all about my kind of review, reaction, recap, whatever you want to call it, but I kind of want to go over what I got from the tribute. Hey everybody, welcome back to Prince's Friend Exploring Music Through Prince, and today I am going to be going over all of my thoughts on the Grammys Tribute. Now, the crazy thing was their choice to put it on the 4-year anniversary of Prince's death. To me, that is not only significant in terms of, the date, coinciding, but also I think it tells me that this is probably the last tribute that we're going to get for a while. We probably will get one when we get around the 5-year. And then probably after that, we'll have to wait until the 10-year. That would be my thought. I know that there were some people who were like, I'm not going to watch this tribute. And for me, it's like, I don't know, it feels almost irresponsible to not watch it because we ain't going to get another one for a while, unless we're just going to get like little small ones like from specific artists who, were close with Prince. But I think this is going to be the last one in a long time, at least, I would think, that's going to have like big names attached to it. So I did go through and I made notes on all of the concert, but I want to go ahead and say straight up front, I think that it was good. I think that it also helped that I knew what we were going to get going in. So if I had thought that this was going to be an all-encompassing thing with Prince's career and all that, I would have been sorely disappointed. But since I knew it was going to be 80s centric and I knew that it was only going to have certain songs, it worked out. I was able to enjoy myself and just kind of give myself over to the experience. And even with that said, I would say that the first half of the concert was pretty ho-hum. It wasn't super exciting with a couple of exceptions, which I will definitely point out. And then the second half was pretty much just fire the whole time. It was really good, actually. So I'm going to go performer by performer and kind of give you my thoughts on each of them. Obviously, I don't have any footage because the Grammys are super on top of anybody using their footage, and they will give strikes. They're not going to claim things. Oh no, they're not going to be like, oh, that's fine, you use that, we'll just take the money. No, they're like, they will take your channel from you if you try to do that. So I don't mess around with the Grammys anymore. So the first act that came out and it was introduced by Maya Rudolph, I was told it was hosted by Maya Rudolph, but she really only hosted a few times. But it was her and Gary Clark Jr. and they came out and they did Let's Go Crazy. It sounded kind of lazy. It's a thing though, right? It's like if it's the first song of the concert, you don't really know what to expect. I get that. There was a little bit of maybe expectations. People weren't sure what to expect or how excited they should get. But Let's Go Crazy is one of those songs that when Prince performed it, it was always very energetic. This one felt pretty lazy. H.E.R did a good job. She, played Prince's parts really well. But Gary Clark Jr. did, I think that he added a little bit more to his performance of the song. He wasn't just trying to do Prince's song. He added some more of his flair. So his guitar solo was him. It was very bluesy and it was him hitting his notes that he would normally hit. And obviously they played the song itself, but I think Gary made that song really great, and H.E.R was kind of just okay. That's my thought, at least. I know I'm probably going to catch some hate for that. Then they go into Miguel, and when Miguel got on stage, and I'm a big fan of Miguel, as anybody who watches this channel would know, I actually really like Miguel quite a bit. I liked his last album really, a lot. And he came out and started I Would Die For You. And that, he started it off amazing, and then it launched into the song proper. I felt like Miguel was trying to perform the song like Miguel would perform the song, and not necessarily just trying to do a karaoke of a Prince song. I think that he really brought it. That was probably my favorite of the night, and it was only the second song. And I like a lot of the other ones in the second half, like I said, but I felt like Miguel's was probably the best of the whole evening. So let me see what my notes here say. This was great. It was a cool expression of his artistry. They threw in some Latin vibes as well. That was something I wrote down to remind myself, because Sheila got on the timbales and they were dancing. He even did like the hand signs, like the "I would die for you." He like did the jump splits. Like he did the whole thing like to the nines. So I was pretty happy with Miguel's performance. Then you got into John Legend, and he said like, "Oh, Nothing Compares to You" was a song that Prince kept trying to give away and it kept coming back to him. And then he did Nothing Compares to You. And how can I say this about John Legend, who is actually, I've heard him sing, and I think that he is an amazing singer. However, I have never heard him sing live. And I have to say, I was not blown away by his performance. On my notes, I wrote bad but emotional. That kind of gives you my thoughts on his performance of Nothing Compares to You. The band itself was good. They ended up doing like the Prince version. So they got the ohs, they have that in the background, and the strong sax in the song is in there as well. But I didn't like his vocal performance at all. And that's something that kind of was something that was happening all night, I think. You got into St. Vincent, and what I noticed was a lot of people were like, why is St. Vincent even there? And St. Vincent is actually a very creative performer. If you go and listen to anything that is St. Vincent, like she has a flair and a style that's all her own, and she's very like indie, and I actually dig her music. This was, though, she sang Controversy, and she sang Controversy well, but the performance itself was kind of boring. It didn't actually add anything, in my opinion. No, it wasn't for me. I like her generally, but this one just didn't seem like it was, like, it could have been anybody doing that. That's, like, she didn't bring anything of her flavor to it. That's just my opinion on it. Like, she was there, like, playing funk guitar, and I was like, that's pretty cool that she can play funk guitar, but that's not St. Vincent. Like, I wanted some St. Vincent controversy, the way that Miguel took I Would Die For You and kind of morphed it into, like, his version of it. I guess I expect too much. Everybody should just be Miguel. Naomi Campbell came out and introduced Juanes doing 1999, which this was actually the point where I was like, oh, okay, this was a really good example of why Sheila E should have used not just her band. She should have invited more people onto the stage, because this was a 3-part song, I was dreaming when I wrote this, and goes into the next part. Well, Sheila did the first part, and then Sheila's bassist did the second part. And, like, who's Sheila's bassist? Like, it's cool. Like, I'm sure he's a great guy and stuff, but they could have had somebody there. They could have invited Des Dickerson to come and do his part again. They could have brought any other bassist of Prince's to come and do that, or any other. They could have got Chance Howard to come in and do that part. Like, they could have gotten anybody. And then they gave it to Juanes, and then Juanes, he did, I think he did his thing. It wasn't a terribly exciting performance. It was good. That was part of my thing with a lot of this tribute, was that it was a whole lot of people coming on and performing half of a song. Like, they could have actually cut some of the people out. And and I'm not even going to say who they should have cut out, but like, they could have cut a few of these people out and then had longer, more in-depth, more energetic performances of full songs, as opposed to a whole bunch of half songs. That's just my opinion, though. I am not the musical director here. Although I could be. Somebody hire me to be a musical director. I'll come do it. Then H.E.R did The Beautiful Ones, and Misty Copeland was there doing a dance, and I actually really dug it. I think that she was a great dancer. I think that they said she was a gymnast, so I thought that was pretty cool. But her part of that was really nice. H.E.R's performance of The Beautiful Ones, I saw a whole bunch of people online just like gushing over it. For me, though, I think it sounded good, but it just didn't have the emotional delivery that I expect from anybody who does The Beautiful Ones. Like, the thing about The Beautiful Ones is, like, you should be on the verge of losing control at any moment, and it didn't feel like H.E.R at any point was going to lose that control. It felt like she was very much in control, and she didn't really push her voice all that much. So I actually, again, she's kind of like John Legend. I've heard a lot of her recorded stuff, and I actually really dig it. But the few times that I've heard her live, it's not super exciting or, pushing any boundaries for me. I expect a lot, though. I'm a music snob. It is what it is. I'll get over it. Then Sheila does this thing where she says, last January, I did a performance with Usher, and here is that. And it was funny because I'm like, didn't they film this just like a few days after the last Grammys? So it's like, it's not like it was like, ooh, in January I did this. It's just like, but I think you're still in January right now as you're recording this, because it's not like it was live. It was just kind of interesting. But they cut to the thing with Usher doing Little Red Corvette and When Doves Cry and Kiss with FKA Twigs and Sheila E. I did a video on that already, so definitely go check that out, because I already did a video reviewing that part. I'm not gonna rehash it all here. In short, I dug it, and I liked FKA Twigs a lot. I'm going to be interested to see how many people are going to be like, oh, Misty Copeland, you did amazing, and then still bashing FKA Twigs because she used a pole in her performance, even though I actually think that FKA Twigs did a better dance performance than Misty Copeland. Both were good. I'm just saying I think that one was better than the other, but she keeps getting bashed because there was a pole involved with hers, and I don't understand. People are weird. So after that, Misty Copeland comes out and says like, oh, well, Prince, when women were at the center of everything, and he wrote a bunch of songs, and then Susannah Hoff and Chris Martin come out and do Manic Monday. It was interesting because I don't think that Chris Martin really added much to it. Susannah Hoff definitely, I've always thought that she had such a unique voice. Nobody sounds like her. I think that she did a really good job singing it. However, I felt like that performance itself could have just been taken off. I felt like it bogged down the show. They actually got to perform that whole song of Manic Monday, whereas all the other songs, they only get like half songs, or the medley treatment. So it seemed weird that this is the song that gets it. I actually thought it was good, but it felt super unnecessary. Susannah, love your voice, love it. I didn't think it was right for the tribute, in my opinion, when there's so much going on in terms of Prince's career and the number of songs that he wrote and performed himself, that it seems weird to like include songs he wrote for other people just cause. So there were so many other songs that could have been highlighted in place of Manic Monday, which I've talked about before. Then More Stay in the Time come out. They do an amazing job. As always, they do Jungle Love, they do Cool, they do The Bird. They do a good job. I don't think that the energy was there, though. It definitely was a good performance on their part. Again, since they did 3 songs, they could only do a slice of each song just to kind of get the feel out. But, the entire time, the crowd was just not having it. They did not enjoy a lot of the performances. And usually when Morris Day comes out, like, the crowd gets hyped, and I just did not see that. And I didn't feel that. Here's the thing with a lot of the stuff, though, in this concert is that the sound wasn't that great. Like, I have a really good sound bar, and like when music comes on my TV, like it's loud and it's booming and all that stuff. Like, my sound system is really good, and I didn't get that from this. From what I've heard from a few other people, the sound was amazing in the arena. So, some of this kind of me not feeling the energy and stuff, it might just be venue. Obviously, I'm in my house lounging on my couch, whereas if I was in the arena and really jamming with the people, it might be different. The key here, though, is that if you are able to break through that and really reach me as the person at home the same way that you would somebody that's in the arena, then that's when you know you did it. And Miguel did that, and a few others that I'm going to get to in a second did that, whereas some of these others didn't. So you can't even treat it like, oh, well, you're just at home and you just don't get it because you weren't there. That's like an excuse, because for half of the concert, I did get it, and for the other half, I didn't. So there was definitely some sort of disconnect there, because the sound was the same. So that's just all I'm going to say about that. And after more Stay in the Time, they get their stuff done. They do this kind of 80s montage, and they're talking about, oh, Prince's 80s albums with Warner Brothers were his best string ever. And then he did all this amazing stuff, and then they highlight everything up to about 87. They stop at Lovesexy. And then they say, but in the 90s, he had fights with Warner Brothers. And then they cut it off there. And I'm like, wait, what? That's it? Like, that's all you're gonna say? I was like, okay, maybe they have more kind of interim things. All right, we'll see what else they talk about. So the Foo Fighters come out. Foo Fighters, I love the Foo Fighters. I own like a few of their albums. They're a really good rock band. I just love them. I think that they're great. They come out, Dave Grohl comes out, and he goes, you know what? We covered Darling Nikki a long time ago, and I don't think that Prince liked it. And everybody kind of laughs. And he goes, so I wasn't even sure if we were going to do it. Hey, but let's go ahead and do it. So, and then they do it, and they bring the house down. And it's the Foo Fighters up there. It's not Sheila E.'s band. It's the Foo Fighters. So they're up there, and they they just destroy the stage. It was amazing. They did such a good job. And his screams were great. I was saying to my wife while we were watching it that, like, that's what you do if you need somebody to do Prince-like screams. You get a rock guy to come do it. That's just what you do. So I thought that they did really, really good. Then Maya Rudolph introduces Earth, Wind, and Fire. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen with that, because I know that they were, they're older and whatnot. And I know that when you get older, your voice starts to not get as good. I can't hit the high notes I could, 20 years ago, and I'm not as old as they are. But they destroyed that song. They did a great job. The voice was good. His voice cracked a bit here and there, but on the whole, it was still pretty stellar. Especially at the end of it, he hits like that one long note. Oh man, it was really, really good. One thing that was kind of annoying to me though, however, was while they were performing it, they kept showing images of like Emancipation era stuff behind them. And I'm like, what does that have to do with a door? Why are you doing this? We're not even gonna go into the 90s. So why are you even like teasing us with like slave era artwork and photography when you're not going to talk about that at all? I just know you're not going to talk about that. I don't know. It just seems really, really weird that it's kind of mixed messages. I got the same feeling when I was at the For You concert, and all of the stuff was from the mid 80s, and yet they kept showing stuff from like when he had an afro in the later years and all that stuff, and that was all the artwork and stuff. And I'm like, but there's a disconnect here. You can't play us 80s stuff and show us 90s and 2000s and 2010s artwork. It just doesn't add up, and it's infuriating. Rawr. So then Common actually introduces Sign of the Time. And Sign of the Times, I think that they did a really good job with Sign of the Times. See, this is where we're getting into the second half. So everything is pretty great, actually. Sheila E starts the song off, and then Common actually comes out, and he does an original verse on top of the Sign of the Times beat. And I think he kind of killed it. It was really good. They even did the OEO part with the crowd, and there was actually some response from the crowd. I mean, I think that the Sign of the Times, I think that they did a really good job with that one. And Common, like his original verse was it was deep. Like I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it a couple of times because I really, really did like it. And like everybody knows Common, but I've never actually taken the time to really go and like listen to Common a whole lot. And I might have to do it because he was good. He was good. He had good flow. He fit with the beat. It was good. Then my boy Beck comes out and he does Raspberry Beret. Raspberry Beret is a song that he's done a lot, and he's pretty well known for doing that particular Prince song, so it makes sense that he did it here as well. He always does it a good job. There is something about Raspberry Beret, though, that has a very karaoke feel to it, which is probably why I sing it at karaoke. So it really didn't matter like who was really kind of up on stage doing Raspberry Beret. It was more like so that somebody did it. And Beck did a really good job with it, though. I really enjoyed his take on it. He did his thing. Then Gary Clark Jr. comes out and does The Cross. And I heard all like the publicity and all like the hype and everything, all the promotion before the tribute was Gary Clark Jr. goes deep and does a deep cut. And I'm just like, okay, The Cross is like almost the last track on one of Prince's biggest albums, and that's not necessarily a deep cut. It's not deep, but he knocked that song on its ass. Like, he did such a good job. This was one of those songs that I immediately thought, see, I would want them to cut one of the other songs so that I could get a longer Gary Clark Jr. The Cross, just because like it was like so good. He added his own energy to it. I felt like Miguel and Gary Clark Jr. were the two performers on the stage tonight that really like brought their own to Prince, and they didn't just say like, I'm here to just do a Prince song. It's like, I'm here to show the artistry that I learned from Prince. But Gary Clark Jr.'s like his guitar additions to The Cross, because it already had really good guitar in it, but now he added his own kind of bluesiness to it. I thought it was really, really good. Fred Armisen then intros Sheila E, who does America, Free, and Glamorous Life, again in like a 3-part medley where, you know, it was 3 songs in the space where you could probably do a third of an actual song. So it was very, very quick that she went through those. Obviously America, she covered it on her last album. I believe Free was just part of that. I don't know if it was a separate song. I'd have to go back and listen to it. I just have to do a review of that one. And then they did a longer cut of Glamorous Life, took up most of it, and then she did a bunch of drumming and timbales at the end, which I thought was pretty good. It was solid. I don't think that there was anything in there that was like super stellar or like knocked my socks off, but it was good. She even like slid on the ground. I was like, what? My wife was the one that pointed out that she wasn't wearing shoes. I was like, she's not? I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense because she's jumping around and everything, but like, yeah, I didn't even notice that she didn't have shoes. My wife was like, why is she wearing shoes? The next segue that we get is another little kind of intro thing where it's talking about Prince after leaving Warner Brothers. He changed his name and then popped up in 2004 for a number of performances, like with Beyonce and at the While My Guitar Gently Weeps, obviously. And then in 2007 for the Super Bowl. And then he presented at the Grammys in 2015, and then he died. So just in case you were ever wondering about the career of Prince, and you were hoping to learn it here at the Grammy Tribute, he did a slew of amazing albums with Warner Brothers until 87, even though he did stuff with Warner Brothers after that, but nobody really cares about that stuff. Then in the mid-90s, he changed his name and then disappeared until 2004, disappeared again until 2007, disappeared again until 2015, and then he died. So that's what I got from this. Yeah, and that's why there's only 80 songs on here. Anyway, moving on. It was pretty interesting because then Princess got to do a performance with the Revolution. And Princess, if you don't know, is Maya Rudolph and her friend, which I don't remember her name, and they even said it, and I hate myself for that. But their group is called Princess, and they're like a Prince cover band. Like, they love to sing Prince songs, and they like to have fun with it. And when I heard that they were going to do a performance, and they were going to be on the same stage as like Gary Clark Jr. and all Miguel and all these things, I was like, are they going to be really, like, are they that good of a cover band? And I'd have to say, yeah. I thought Maya Rudolph, she has an amazing Prince voice, and I think that they had some good energy. It was fun and it was energetic, and I think that they did a pretty darn good job. I was kind of scared for them. I wasn't sure. Then of course we say we can't leave without doing this song, because this was Prince's song, Purple Rain. I completely agree. You can't have a tribute concert without Purple Rain. Mavis Staples performed it with the Revolution, and I have to say, I love Mavis Staples. I've been listening to her for years, with Prince, without Prince, with the Gorillaz, all everywhere. And her voice was just not up to snuff, and she was saying like different words in the song, which I don't really care about. Like, you can put your own spin on the lyrics and stuff. I don't really care about that part, but her voice was just not as strong on this, and it makes me sad to say that. I was not feeling her performance of Purple Rain. Wendy kind of came in on the end and kind of saved it with a really good guitar solo. It wasn't just Prince's part on the guitar. Like, she kind of brought it to life, and I thought I think that she did a pretty good job with that and kind of saved most of the performance. The problem with this performance of Purple Rain as a show ender is that when Prince would do it, and I'm not saying that everybody has to try and be Prince, but you should try and bring the same energy, and you should try to keep the energy up the whole show. But it's a very interactive song. Nobody called to the crowd to do the ooh. Like, the crowd was waving their hands, but they weren't like it wasn't part of the show. Like they weren't doing it in concert with the people on stage. Like they were doing it themselves because they know that this is the part of the song where you wave your hands. They were doing the call and response without the call. They were just doing the response. It felt very disconnected, which is not what Purple Rain is. Purple Rain is supposed to be like that final song of the show. This is it. And we're going to experience this together, and it's going to be big, and it's going to be this giant experience. You're going to leave here and you're going to be like, that was a thing. And I didn't get that. It sounded slow. It sounded really low energy. There was no crowd engagement. And like, for being one of Prince's biggest songs and being like the last proper song of the tribute, I think it mostly fell flat, which sucks. I don't know what to say. And then at the end of the concert, during the credits are rolling and everything, and you get Baby I'm a Star. This is Sheila E. and Miguel and Dave Grohl and, you know, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and everybody from the show are all on stage. Not everybody, but a lot of the people from the show, they're on stage and are all singing and bongoing and like doing a bunch of stuff and having fun, singing Baby I'm a Star. Maya Rudolph still like bringing out her screams and stuff, and it was actually pretty fun, but we didn't get to see a lot of it because it was just the credits song, and then it gets cut off while they're doing it. I mean, there you go. Not much to really say about the Baby I'm a Star performance because I didn't really see a lot of it. But what I will say, though, is that from what I read and what I talked about before, the Revolution's performance of Mountains was not included in the broadcast. I know that I've heard reports that during the recording there were a lot of issues, a lot of mistakes, a lot of things that needed to get cut and stuff. So apparently the performance of Mountains by the Revolution wasn't up to snuff and did not make the broadcast. It ended up that's why they replayed the stuff with Usher and FKA Twigs and Sheila E. That was actually in place of some of the songs that I guess didn't make it. Mountains is, I think, the only one that didn't make it. It could have just been for time, who knows? But yeah, there you go. So again, I think on the whole, the second half of the concert was much better than the first. Watching it with commercials, I think it dragged for 2 hours. Even in the second half, you were like, these are good, but like they could have made this a 1 hour and just included the good stuff, or an hour and a half or whatever. Maybe if I go back and I watch it without commercials, it won't feel as long, but I would say that the standouts, obviously, for me, as I've said it already, were Miguel and Gary Clark Jr. And you know what? Hell, I'll give it to Maya Rudolph, too. I think that she did a darn good job as well. So I think the three of them were probably the standouts. It was a 2-hour event. I walked away from it pretty good. I don't think that it was a fitting tribute to all of what Prince was, but I think it was okay for people who were nostalgic for the old days of Prince and whatnot. I think it's fine. And again, it would have been different if I didn't already know what I was getting into going into it. But what do you guys think? Let me know about it all down in the comments. Also, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you always know when Prince's Friend releases a new video, and may you live to see the dawn. Love you all. Hope you enjoyed the tribute.